Salvete omnes. This is Abbey Latin, Liber Primus, chapter 16. This is the Lectio Latina of chapter 16. Continuing with the grand epic adventures of epicness of Aeneas and friends. Then it turned into Romulus and friends. Now it's still Romulus and friends, who turned out not to be so great dudes. Turned out to be quite bad dudes, actually. Let's read on. In ludo Romano magister discipulos docebat multa de regibus Romanis. In plus the accusative would show motion towards, into, or onto, but in plus the ablative shows location, in or on. In plus the ablative ludus e masculine, that is a game or a school. Here we are in a school. What type of school are we in? One that looks rather like this one. Romano, a Romanos aum, a Roman school. In a Roman school, ablative of location. A magister, from magister, magistri, masculine, a teacher, a guide, a director. He discipulos from discipulus e masculine, that's a student. Discipulos with the os ending, accusative plural masculine, direct object of the verb docebat. Doceo, docere, docui, doctus, to teach, to show. Docebat is third person singular, imperfect, active, indicative. So the subject, the nominative magister, was teaching, imperfect tense. His discipulos, dokeo takes a double accusative, a whom you're teaching and a what you're teaching. So you're teaching multa, accusative plural neuter multa, from multus aum, much, plural many. As accusative plural neuter, it's a substantive adjective, fancy word for noun, like a noun adjective. It's an adjective dressed up as a noun. So multa, many things, because it's plural neuter, multa, many things, as the accusative direct object of docebat. There's also discipulos. So the teacher was teaching his students. What was he teaching them? Multa, many things. You could even say the English adverb much. De plus the ablative, regibus Romanis. Now, de takes the ablative of separation. You mean down from, like fall down from somewhere, like defenestrate, thrown de down from a fenestra window. But here it could also mean about or concerning. So much, multa, many things, about or concerning the ablative regibus Romanis, the Roman kings. So in a Roman school, a teacher was teaching his students many things about the Roman kings. Or you could say he was teaching them much about the Roman kings. And this is what he inquit. De regno Romuli, inquit magister discipulis, vobis narrabo. So de plus the ablative again, regno, regnum e neuter. It's like the English word reign, as in R-E-I-G-N, reign, as in a king's reign, the reign of the king. We could say throne, we could say kingship, we could say kingdom, the things, the trappings of a king. That's how it could mean crown or throne. Here it's probably going to mean the reign or the kingship. De regno, concerning the reign, the kingship. Romuli, Romulus e masculine, it's a proper noun, name of a dude. Genitive singular showing possession, because he's not going to have a plural. Or is he? No, he's not going to have a plural. Singular. Romulus, the genitive would be Romuli, and then the dative Romulo, and then Romulum, and then Romulo. Oh, those Romulans. So from, or here it means about or concerning, the reign of Romulus. Concerning Romulus's reign, inquit magister discipulis. Now, inquit is used with quotation marks, so you can translate as just he, she, it said, or more grandiosely, quoth the magister, quoth said the magister, nominative subject of inquit, said the teacher discipulis to his dative plural masculine students. It's the dative indirect object of inquit. The teacher said, spake, saith the teacher, quoth the teacher to his discipulis, his students. Vobis narrabo. Vobis, the pronoun vos, ye, you plural y'all. It's vos and then vesrum, vesri, and then the dative is vobis, the accusative is vos, and then the ablative would be vobis. So it's either dative or ablative, and it's always plural because it refers to you plural. Narrabo, narro, narrare, narravi, narratus, to tell, like a narrator tells a story. Narrabo is first person singular, future, active, indicative. I, the teacher said, I will tell vobis to you, to y'all, to ye, dative, plural, about the reign of Romulus, about Romulus's reign, said the teacher to his students. And this is what he said. Urbs Roma a Romuli nomine appellator. Urbs Roma, urbs, urbis, feminine, a city. This is the nominative singular feminine, therefore the subject. Roma, from Roma I, feminine. Rome, the name of the city. Here it's going to be a predicate nominative. So we have a subject, we have a predicate nominative. It could also stand in apposition. So that's a possibility, but I'm going to go ahead and spoil the fun. It is a predicate nominative. So don't blink, you might miss it. A, preposition ab, away from, moving away from, ablative of separation, could also be ablative of personal agent. Especially if we have a passive voice verb as the agent. Romuli, it's the genitive of Romulus, so Romulus's, of Romulus. Nomine, nomen, nominis, neuter, name. It's the ablative, so it goes with the preposition ab, nomine, from the name of Romulus, from Romulus's name, or by Romulus's name. Appellator. So appellator, third person singular, present, and it's passive voice, indicative mood of appellalo, appellare, appellavi, appellatus, to call or to name. So the subject, the urbs, is currently, right now, called. It is being called. It is named. Roma, the predicate nominative Rome, by the name of Romulus. It is called by the name of, by Romulus's name. It is called Rome by the name of Romulus. Or you could even say it is called Rome from the name of Romulus, meaning that the name Roma comes from Romuli. And here you can kind of see the blurring between the ablative of separation and the ablative of personal agent. Kind of the same thing. I always think of books, book titles. So you have a book like the Iliad by Homer. Now that by, it's technically an ablative of personal agent, by Homer, as in the Iliad, parentheses, written, parentheses, by Homer. But you can also see the separation, as in it came from Homer. The Iliad and this thing came from Homer. It was done by Homer and it came from him. So you can see the blurring between the two. They're related. That's why in Latin they use the same preposition, ab. So the city is called Rome from Romulus's name. Nunc magna est, sed tum parva in monte Palatino erat urbs nova. Nunc magna est, nunc now, present tense now, nowadays, we could even say. Magna, from magnus aum, great, large, big. Est, third person singular, present, active, indicative, he, she, it is. So something is, and magna is nominative singular feminine. Could be neuter, nominative plural neuter. Ah, wait, can't be because est is singular. Also, this can't be accusative plural neuter, because we have est. And you can't have an accusative direct object if your verb is linking verb sum. Nunc magna est. Now something feminine singular is big, is great, is large. Said, but, one T. Now that I have your attention, tum means then, at that time, back then, parva. So in comparison to magna, something that nowadays is big, but at that time, parva, small. In monte, in plus the ablative of location, monte, mons, montes, masculine. The ablative of location, mountain. It's a third declension masculine I stem. The ablative, however, retains the E ablative ending. It only turns to an I if it's a neuter I stem, or if it's a third declension adjective. They all have that letter I for the ablative singular, if it's a third declension adjective. Mons montes is a noun, however. A mountain is a thing. We are in or on Monte Palatino. That's the Palatine mountain, where the earliest settlements of Rome are found, on the Palatine Hill. Of course, this is where the she-wolf, the Lupa, took Romulus and Remus from the Tiber and, for a time, nursed them in the cave of the she-wolf called the Lupercal. So in Monte Palatino, erat, third person singular imperfect, in comparison to the third person singular present, est. Erat is imperfect past tense. Urbs, once again, urbs, orbis, feminine city. Nova, from novus aum, new. And because urbs is feminine, a new city. But then, the new city was small on the Palatine Hill. Nowadays, the urbs goes with magna. Nowadays, the city is big. They're talking about Rome. But at that time, the new city was small on the Palatine Hill. Or we could say the new city on the Palatine Hill was small. Asylum erat fugitivorum ac malorum, et civibus non erant feminae. So asylum looks like the English word asylum. It is. An asylum, a haven. Asylum e neuter. I wonder if that's a Greek word with that, Greek letter Y there. It's a transliteration of the Greek upsilon, asylum. So era, third person singular imperfect. And fugitivorum, a fugitivus, that's a runaway. You can see the fugitive in there. Fugitivorum, orum, that's a genitive plural ending, orum. So, of, this was an asylum, meaning the city was an asylum of runaways, fugitives, ac, and also, let's not forget, and emphatically also, ac being the souped up form of et, malorum, a malus aum. That adjective means bad, evil, or wicked. This is a substantive. So, wicked men, bad men, some bad dudes. Asylum erat, it was a haven of runaways and also bad men. Some rough dudes. Couldn't really make a living anywhere else, so they ran off to this place. This place started by a guy named Romulus. Oh yeah, you may have heard of him. He also killed his brother. Oh wow. Okay, yeah, I want to start a city with that guy. Sure. Et civibus non erant feminae, and because they are runaways and also bad people, some bad apples, some bad dudes, et civibus, civis, C for common, the gender could be masculine or feminine. Here it's going to be all dudes, because that's what they said was the problem. Non, adverb non, not. Erant, third person plural, imperfect. Feminae. Feminae, from femina, I, feminine, women. This is the nominative plural feminine. It's the subject. There non erant, there were not women. Civibus. Civibus, this is the dative of possession. There were not wives, there were not women for the citizens. Or you can turn that around to the more Englishy possession sounding, the citizens did not have wives. Well, yeah, it's a haven for runaways, a hotbed of malorum, scum, and villainy. Why would you ever let your daughters date them? Well, the Sabini, that's exactly what they thought. Sabini in monte Quirinali habitabant, et Romanos ducere filias uxores nolebant. Well, yeah, of course. Now the Sabini, the Sabines, they're an Italian tribe. They usually live in the Apennine Mountains, but there's a contingent of them that have moved down here, and they have settled on the Coronal Hill. So across from the Palatine Hill here. So here's Romulus and gang. Remember, poor Remus went on the Aventine Hill to look for those omens, and then when he met up with his brother again, they had a fight, and, something bad happened. Or the other story is that Remus jumped over Romulus's walls, or the planned walls, the furrow that he was building here, the Pomerium, inside the Forum. The sacred boundaries of the city, right there. And Remus, jumped over that and got himself killed because, whoa, Romulus is kind of a harsh dude, man. Kind of a bad dude. Now, the Sabines live here, the Sabini, on the Coronal Hill. In Monte Quirinali habitabant. The Sabines were living on the Coronal Mont, the Coronal Hill. Et Romanos ducere filias uxores nolebant. And Romanos, accusative plural masculine. Romans ducere, present active infinitive. Duco, ducere, duxi, ductus. You don't know that verb yet, but you will. You will very soon, too. It means to lead. You can see dux, ducus in there, hopefully. A leader. So filias, you know as filia I feminine, a daughter, female offspring. Accusative, plural feminine. Uxores, it's a third declension feminine noun. Uxor, uxoris feminine, meaning a wife. Like the English word uxorious. Yes. Nolebant, third person plural, imperfect, active, indicative. Now this means to not want. And they were not wanting the Romans this means to marry their daughters, to lead their daughters as wives, to marry their daughters. So the Sabines were living on the Coronal Hill, and they did not want the Romans to marry their daughters. Yeah, understandably. Postquam Romulus et Romani multas gentes ad Canam Neptuno magnam in Monte Palatino invitaverunt, triginta Sabinas occupaverunt, et contra Sabinos pugnaverunt. Those Romans. Postquam, after Romulus et Romani, Romulus and the Romans, multas aum, accusative plural feminine, much plural many, adjective modifying gentes, from gens, gentis, feminine, clan, nation, tribe. Tribe is probably best here. Many tribes. After Romulus and the Romans did something to the accusative direct object, many tribes, odd plus the accusative motion towards, we're going towards the kainon. A kanai feminine is a dinner. A hearty meal, supper, if you will. It's usually eaten in classical times around the late afternoon, extended into the evening as time went on. Neptuno, Neptunus, E masculine, that's Neptune. Proper name, proper noun, referring to the god of the seas. Dative or ablative, singular and masculine. He's not going to be plural. And magnon. Magnon might look like it's just hanging out there. Magnosaon. It's accusative singular feminine. It agrees with kainon, and it captures Neptuno. So Neptuno is nestled snugly in between the noun and the adjective, and these two go together. So you know that Neptuno definitely goes with this noun-adjective pair. It wouldn't jump over these guys to go with gentes or monte or something like that. So to a large dinner, not of Neptune, doesn't belong to Neptune, but it's a dinner for Neptune, dative, indirect object. A large dinner, a great dinner, a meal for Neptune. It was a festival for Neptune. In Monte Palatino, on the Palatine Hill. Invitaverunt. Invitaverunt, they, hopefully you can see the English word invite. And it's third person plural, perfect active, indicative. They invited. After Romulus and the Romans invited many tribes to a large dinner for Neptune on the Palatine Hill, right there, what then happened? Triginta Sabinas occupaverunt. 30 Sabinas, pay attention to the gender here, found in the ending. It's accusative plural feminine. First of the Sabine women. Occupaverunt. Third person plural, perfect active, indicative of occupo, occupare, occupavi, occupatus, to seize, to take. They seized, they took the Triginta Sabinas, 30 Sabine women. Et contra Sabinos appugnaverunt. And contra preposition takes accusative against the Sabinos, accusative plural masculine. This knows the genders, masculine. So, and against the Sabine men, pugnaverunt, they, third person plural, perfect active, indicative, fought. So they fought against the Sabine men. They kidnapped, they seized, they took 30 Sabine women, and they fought against the Sabine men. After inviting them to the Palatine Hill for a festival for Neptune, the Romans then seized the Sabine women. This is referred to as the rape of the Sabine women, as in the kidnapping and the assault of the Sabine women. Rape is always bad. Unus e discipulis, quam malum exclamavit. Indeed it is. Unus e discipulis, one, nominative singular masculine, ex, out of discipulis, ablative of separation, movement out of, but with numerals usually displays a partitive idea, which otherwise is usually the genitive's job. But it can also be just used with the ablative of separation to show a partitive idea. One out of the students, so out of the group of students, there is one of them. Exclamavit quam malum, he not just clamavit, shouted, but he shouted out, he cried out, quam malum, quam, how, especially with an adjective, modifying it, strengthening it, how malum, how evil, what an evil thing. How wicked. Respondit magister, ita vero. The teacher agrees. Respondit. Replied the teacher. The teacher replied. And the teacher answered, Ita vero. Yes, it is very wicked. It is very evil. Story ain't done yet, though. Acre erat bellum inter Romanos et Sabinos. Acre, acer, acris, acre, harsh, bitter, fierce. This ain't a happy story. So this is the neuter form. It's either the nominative or the accusative singular neuter. Remember, acer, acris, acre is a third declension. So we'll have third declension endings following the I stem. And it's three terminations. So this is the neuter, acre. So some neuter thing is harsh. Erat, third person singular imperfect. Erat bellum. Bellum in neuter, war. Harsh was the war. The war was harsh. Inter, the war inter, between. Inter takes the accusative, between the Romanos, accusative plural masculine, Romanosaon, et, conjunction, and the Sabinos, between the Romans and the Sabines. Inter takes the accusative. So, bitter was the war between the Romans and the Sabines. Yes, they fought a war over this. Sabinae tandem cum infantibus in proelio inter Romulum et Titum Tatium regem Sabinorum steterunt, et patres virosque pugnare prohibuerunt. So the Sabinae tandem, at last, finally. Sabinae, nominative plural feminine, the Sabine women, the subject, finally, the Sabine women. Cum, preposition cum, takes the ablative, with, either accompaniment or manner. Infantibus, in infans, infantis, common, is a baby. It's a infant, baby. Cum infantibus, with their babies. So yes, the babies that they've had with the Roman men. Finally, the Sabine women, with their babies, in proelio, in plus the ablative, proelio, ablative singular neuter, proelium in neuter, in the battle, inter, between Romulum, inter, remember, takes the accusative, this is the accusative of Romulus, et Titum Tatium, Titus Tatius, pictured right here, regem Sabinorum. So regem, notice the comma here, regem is an appositive, modifying Titus Tatius in the accusative. So regem, the king, Sabinorum, genitive plural, of the Sabines. Titus Tatius is right here. Romulus, inter Romulum, is right here. You can tell that's Romulus because if you look very closely on the shield, you will see the Capitoline she-wolf suckling some babies underneath. That would be himself and his brother Remus, and underneath written the word Roma. In the back, highly stylized to the point of ridiculousness, I guess, the walls of Rome. So that's the Palatine Hill or the Capitoline Hill in the background. Like that's the early temple of Jupiter Optimus Maximus or something like that. These amazing city walls here, jagged cliffs. Yeah, not really like that. Anyway, this is Jacques-Louis David, the intervention of the Sabine women. So the Sabine women finally, with their babies, in proelio, in the battle between Romulus and Titus Tatius, king of the Sabines, steterunt, they stare steti, status, stood, third person plural perfect, they stood. Finally, the Sabine women, Finally, the Sabine women stood with their babies in the battle between Romulus and Titus Tatius, king of the Sabines. So they stood in between them, betwixt the two. Et patres virosque, patres accusative or nominative, plural masculine of pater, patris, meaning father, Here's going to be plural, so fathers. Viros and que. So the que conjunction, whoop, can move that right there. And the men refers to the Romans. Accusative plural masculine. Pugnare, prohibuerunt. Now, pugnare, that's the second principal part. That's an infinitive. Prohibuerunt is the third person plural perfect active indicative of prohibeo, prohibere, prohibui, prohibitus. So they prohibited, they kept their accusative fathers and the men, pugnare, from fighting. So they stood in between and they kept them from fighting. Titus Tatius, king of the Sabines, and Romulus, king of the Romans. Ob Sabinas erat pax inter Romanos et Sabinos. Ob, like propter, both take the accusative and both mean because of, on account of. Sabinas, accusative plural feminine, the Sabine women. On account of the Sabine women, it was because of the Sabine women. Erat, third person singular imperfect. There was pax. Pax is feminine peace. It was because of the Sabine women that there was peace. Inter Romanos et Sabinos. Yeah, would it have been better if that had never happened to them in the first place? Inter, plus the accusative, between the Romans and the accusative Sabines. It was because of the Sabine women that there was peace between the Romans and the Sabines. On account of the Sabine women. Post tati mortem, Romulus creatus est rex Sabinorum, et Sabinos cum Romanis conjunxit. After the death of Titus Tatius, post takes the accusative, mors mortis, mortem being the accusative. Tati is the genitive of Tatius, Titus Tatius. After the death of Tatius, king of the Sabines, Romulus, nominative singular masculine, subject, creatus est. This means it's a he was made. He was, you can see, created. It's third person singular perfect passive indicative. He was made. He was created. Of creo, creare, creavi, creatus, to make, to create. So it's passive. It's the fourth principal part. Agrees with Romulus. He was made. Romulus was created. Rex. Subject was made predicate nominative. Rex, king, Sabinorum, of the Sabines. So after the death of Titus Tatius, Romulus was made king of the Sabines, et Sabinos cum Romanis conjunxit, and he joined the accusative Sabinos with the ablative Romanis, with the Romans. So the Sabines live on the Quirinal Hill, were moved into Rome, and they settled on the Capitoline Hill or thereabouts. Remember, later on, under the reign of the sixth king of Rome, Servius, he was the first to accompany the, to encompass the 7 hills. So usually don't include the Caspian. Quirinal, Viminal, Esquiline, Oppian, Caelian, Palatine, Aventine, Capitoline. Whoop. Unus e discipulis, unus, one out of the students, rogavit, asked, erat Romulus rex malus? Was Romulus rex malus, an evil king, a bad king? Well, you know, his uncle, his granduncle, Amulius, was a rex malus, a bad king, a wicked king who did bad, evil, wicked things. Was Romulus the same way? Romulus, a victim of Amulius? I mean, evil, wicked King Amulius did put him in a basket when he was a small baby and put Romulus and his brother down the Tiber River. I mean, that might mess anyone up. However, doesn't excuse the bad things he did. He did kill his brother. Rape of the Sabine women. Magister, vir acer respondit, erat Romulus, et mala faciebat. Magister, the teacher, replied, vir acer, a harsh man, sharp man, bitter man, probably best to say harsh. Erat Romulus. Romulus was a harsh man. Et mala, and accusative plural neuter mala, bad things, wicked things, evil deeds. Faciebat, he did. He did bad things. He did evil things. Dude did some evil stuff. Pretty bad. Bad dude. Sunt, third person plural. They are. There are. Sunt duae fabulae de Romuli morte. There are duae fabulae. Duae agrees with fabulae. Duo, two, always plural. Fabulae, fabula, feminine. Stories. There are two stories. De, ablative, concerning the morte Romuli, concerning the death of Romulus, concerning Romulus's death. In campo Martio, aut ad caelum a patre Marte est portatus, aut interfectus est a senatoribus. So in campo Martio, so the Campus Martius, the field of Mars, the Mars field, the Martian plain, large open plain, or used to be open plain right here, where the army did its drilling and the soldiers did their training and their practicing. In campo Martio, in plus the ablative, in the field of Mars, out, either, ad plus the accusative caelum e neuter, the sky, heavens, to the heavens, ab, preposition from, away from, separation, ablative, or it could be ablative of personal agent by. Patre, ablative, going with the preposition of. Still don't know if it's separation or personal agent yet. The line gets kind of blurry at times. But it means father. Pater, patris, masculine. Marte, Mars, Martis, also ablative. So from his father Mars, or by his father Mars. Est portatus. Est goes with portatus. Fourth principal part of porto, portare, portavi, portatus, to carry. So when est, third person singular present of sum, is used as a helping verb with the fourth principal part, this is the perfect passive, third person singular perfect passive indicative. Portatus agrees with Romulus. The subject is Romulus. He portatus est portatus. He was carried. Either he was carried to the heavens, to the sky, by his father Mars, who came down in a chariot from the heavens. Come on, son. And Romulus said, gee, Dad, I always knew you'd come back. And then hopped on in the chariot with his father and zoomed off into the heavens. So this happened in the field of Mars. In the field of Mars, either he was carried off to the heavens by his father Mars, aut interfectus est a senatoribus, or he was killed, he was murdered a senatoribus, by his senators. The senators, the 100 advisors, elders, senex, senator, elders, advisors, first 100 families of Romans that lived with Romulus on the Palatine Hill as part of his city. they became the first senators, and their descendants are the great noble houses of classical Rome. So these people could trace their ancestry all the way back to these early mytho-legendary kings, Romulus being the first one, the founder. So there are two stories about Romulus's death. He was either in the field of Mars and carried off to the heavens by his father Mars, or he was murdered by his senators. Romulus nunc est Deus Quirinus. So Romulus is now, nunc est, is now Deus Quirinus, the god Quirinus. Quirinus seems to be a Sabine deity. Perhaps the name means spear, because notice that it's very similar to the Quirinal Hill, where the Sabines supposedly originally lived. So Romulus is deified, becomes a god, and he is semi-worshipped, or at least honored, as the god Quirinus, which may have originally been a Sabine deity, meaning spear. Optime, very well done. That wraps up this Lectio Latina for chapter 16. You are now ready to move on to the next chapter, which is a review chapter. Volete omnes.